This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
I believe somebody is being held right now and they are being questioned.
Massive fire causes severe damage to parts of South African Parliament in Cape Town. A magnitude 5.5 earthquake in the southwest of China injures 22 people. And West African Regional Bloc ECOWAS to meet over Mali's proposal to delay election by 5 years. Hello and welcome. You're watching Africa Live. We're coming to live from Nairobi. I'm Hannah Viviers. Here are more stories making headlines. Tanzania film industry excited by the debut of the country's first ever movie on global streaming platform Netflix. And in your sport, we feature South Africa's Kirsten Thompson, who juggles her career as a Proteas cricketer and doctor. We begin this edition of Africa Live in South Africa, where firefighters battled for hours on Sunday to contain a fire at the Parliament buildings in Cape Town. A spokesperson for South Africa's police service has confirmed that a 51-year-old man has been taken in for questioning about the fire. Renee Delcarme reports.
Authorities say the fire is believed to have started in the early hours of Sunday morning. Firefighters responded within minutes. But the blaze quickly spread from the old House of Assembly to the iconic National Assembly, where South Africa's first democratic president, Nelson Mandela, was elected in 1994.
It's very sad because Parliament is the house of our democracy. This is where the members of Parliament hold the executive to the account. This is where we have debates. We have the State of the Nation address here every year. And there are lots of memories. There's a lot of history here.
President Cyril Ramaphosa described the fire as devastating and disappointing, especially as it came just one day after the funeral of anti-apartheid hero Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu.
And to wake up to the devastating news of the burning down of the National Assembly or Parliament is just really a terrible setback. But notwithstanding the damage that has been caused to the National Assembly, the work of Parliament will carry on.
The president said it appeared as though Parliament's sprinkler system had not worked as it was supposed to. He also confirmed that a suspect was being held and questioned in connection with the fire.
I believe somebody is being held right now and they are being questioned. But we need to go a lot deeper into how this type of event can take place and what measures we will need to take going forward. But for now, I think we should be grateful that the National Assembly Parliament has not been razed to ashes and to the floor.
Renee Delcarme, CGTN, Cape Town, South Africa.
Renee Delcarme is standing by outside the Parliament buildings in Cape Town, South Africa. She joins us live once again. Hi there, Renee. Thank you so much for bringing us all the latest that's happening with the Parliament building. Firefighters have been battling the inferno all day long, Renee. What's the status now?
Well, yes, the fire started over 12 hours ago. Earlier this morning, we were told that firefighters got to the scene within 16 minutes of receiving the report about the fire. And the president has praised their bravery and hard work, saying if it had not been for their intervention and their quick response, we might have seen greater damage to more buildings in the parliamentary precinct. He said that we might have seen the National Assembly and the old Assembly razed to the ground. Now, also today, the words we were hearing from government, from people at Parliament, was extensive, major, severe. That's the way they were describing the damage. And, you know, these buildings are historic. Some of the buildings, the first buildings, were built in the 1880s. Others were built in the 1920s, and the more modern buildings, including the National Assembly, were built in the 1980s. So lots of history. There would be artifacts and documents that would have been destroyed not only by fire, but also water damage. So a very devastating day here in South Africa, here in Cape Town, where people have said this is a sad day for democracy in South Africa.
Renee, you have touched on the extent of the damage. There have been reports that the roof had caved in. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, by all accounts, we heard that the fire is believed to have started in the old assembly building on the third floor, where many offices and a gymnasium were destroyed. And we were told later that the roof had been completely compromised. It has collapsed and is gone. The roof of the old assembly no longer in place. But we've also been told that the chamber where all the major meetings are held, they are still inspecting that, so we're not sure about the damage to the chamber, but the roof is entirely gone. And as I said earlier, one of the more modern buildings is the National Assembly, and on the 10th of February, Parliament was due to convene to listen to the President giving an update of the achievements of our nation during this very difficult time in the last year. The State of the Nation address was due to take place on the 10th of February in this building, the National Assembly behind me. That will obviously not be happening now. And the City of Cape Town, the Mayor of Cape Town, has just made it known that the city would like to offer government the opportunity to go ahead with this historic and important moment in our history, where we have to see how far we've come after COVID, etc., to give government the chance to go ahead with the State of the Nation address in the Cape Town City Hall and Grand Parade. So right now, we know that firefighters will be working through the night, everybody doing the utmost to find out what's happening with the investigation. As you said earlier, and as I said in my report, a 51-year-old man being questioned right now about his involvement in this fire.
Renee, thank you so much for that update. Renee Delcom speaking to us from Cape Town, South Africa. Well, let's go to Yunnan province now in the southwest of China, where at least 22 people were injured after a magnitude 5.5 earthquake struck Langshan County in Linjiang. 2 people are in serious condition. The epicenter of the quake was located 10 kilometers below the surface. The fire brigade in Ninglang County sent 4 vehicles and 15 emergency personnel to investigate the disaster. A 60-member search and rescue team has also been assembled and dispatched. We'll bring you more updates as soon as they come in. Well, in Sudan, hundreds of pro-democracy protesters have rallied outside the presidential palace in Khartoum. There was a mass deployment of armed soldiers, and mobile internet services were cut off on Sunday. Many of the demonstrators braved tear gas to protest. Sudanese want power to return to civilians following a military takeover. Authorities erected roadblocks with shipping containers blocking the Nile River bridges between the capital and outlying areas. This is the 12th round of major protests since the military's power grab in October the 25th. At least 54 protesters have been killed in street violence since then, and that's according to medical sources. Let's head over to West Africa now, where West African regional body ECOWAS has announced that it will hold an extraordinary summit on Mali in the Ghanaian capital, Accra, on January the 9th. The announcement follows a meeting held between Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo, who is the current head of ECOWAS, and visiting Mali's Foreign Minister Abdoulaye Diop. During the meeting, Diop proposed that Mali's transition back to democracy be extended by 5 years. He also invited the ECOWAS mediator for Mali to visit the country on January the 5th. West African leaders have threatened to impose additional sanctions against Mali. ECOWAS wants Mali's junta to make concrete progress towards holding democratic elections in February as promised. The bloc has already imposed sanctions on Malian leaders over the May 2021 coup. Well, meanwhile, the United States has cut Ethiopia, Mali, and Guinea from AGOA trade preference program. The African Growth and Opportunity Act legislation provides sub-Saharan African nations with duty-free access to the U.S. In a statement by the U.S. Trade Representative's office, the move has been informed by quote, actions taken by each of the governments in violation of the AGOA statute, end quote. The decision by the U.S. follows a threat by President Joe Biden to cut out the three countries over alleged human rights violations and recent coups. Ethiopia's trade ministry says it is extremely disappointed by Washington's announcement, saying the move will reverse economic gains and unfairly impact and harm women and children. Well, U.S. President Joe Biden is to speak with his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky on Sunday to affirm his support for Kiev as tensions grow with Russia. A White House official said that the leaders would discuss Russia's military buildup near Ukraine's border, and they'll also review preparations for diplomatic efforts to calm the situation. On Thursday, Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin exchanged warnings over Ukraine. Their talks have set the stage for lower-level engagements that include a U.S.-Russia security meeting on January the 9th and the 10th. This will be followed by a Russia-NATO session on January the 12th and a broader conference including Moscow, Washington, and other European countries a day later. The U.S. leader said that he had told Putin that a move on the Ukraine would draw sanctions.
I made it clear to the President Putin that if he makes any more moves and goes into Ukraine, we will have severe sanctions. We will increase our presence in Europe with our NATO allies, and it will have to be a heavy price to pay for it.
Let's head over to France now, where the countdown to the French presidential election is on. All the major candidates are in full campaign mode, but there is one notable exception: the current president, Emmanuel Macron. He is widely expected to run for re-election, but Macron has still not declared his candidacy yet. Immigration security, climate change, and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic will be the main themes of the campaign. Our correspondent Ross Cullen reports from Paris on the race so far.
Striding towards a second term in office, Emmanuel Macron says he is focused on the job, but he seems to be in a campaigning mood, the clear favourite in early election polls. For politics professor Frédéric Matonti, he remains the one to beat.
I think that very honestly, even if there are some difficulties, for example, if he's in the second round against an opponent from the right, that'll be difficult. And because there are so many people who detest President Macron, right now I would say he does still have the greatest chance of winning.
However, there are challenges coming at the incumbent president from all sides. Ultranationalist TV pundit Eric Zemmour's entry into the race energised both the hard right and his opponents. Zemmour has been on the offensive, branding the young President Macron a teenager who led France into a void. And France could have its first female leader. The far-right Marine Le Pen made it into the runoff last time in 2017. She will hope to go one step further this time. There is also the mayor of Paris. The pro-environment Anne Hidalgo is the 2022 candidate for the Socialists, but she's not well known outside the capital, something she's trying to address, seen here at a rally in the southern city of Perpignan.
I dream of a Republican left, of a popular left that changes lives, an ecological left that rises to the level of its historical mission.
And for the first time, the centre-right Republicans chose a woman as their candidate. Valérie Pécresse has had a surge in polls, and some see her as the top challenger to President Macron. And for the public, there are lots of potential presidents in the race.
I think Eric Zemmour has emphasised important points like national identity and immigration, but I hope his voters rally behind the moderate right and Valérie Pécresse.
There is a health crisis which is worrying, so in addition to uncertainty around the candidates and their ideas, it's harder and harder to project where we will be in 5 years' time.
I think at the moment there are no particularly striking personalities in France, and I will probably vote for the least worst.
The election will take place 2 years on from the first hard coronavirus lockdown in France, but the effects of the pandemic are still being felt, and Emmanuel Macron's management of the crisis will be scrutinised. Immigration, security, climate change, There are many other subjects that will be argued over on the campaign trail in 2022, but who will win the keys to the Élysée Palace, the French presidential office and residence, well, that is still very much up for debate. Ross Cullen, CGTN, Paris.
Well, it's time now for us to take a short break and return. More in Africa Live, including Tunisia and Italy agreed to boost their efforts in tackling irregular migrant departures.
Hey there, my name is Asta Tao, and there are 3 things you should know about me. I love food, I'm obsessed with history, and I travel whenever I can. So join me as I explore cultures through food, meet innovative chefs, and celebrate Africa's diversity.
Hello and welcome back. You're watching Africa Live. Well, in the meeting between Tunisian President Kais Saied and Italian Minister of Foreign Affairs Luigi Di Maio at Carthage Palace, they discussed ways of boosting bilateral cooperation to stem irregular migrant departures. Meanwhile, families of migrants who were lost at sea during irregular migration attempts have been protesting to demand the truth about the fate of their children. Adnan Shuashi reports.
Luigi Di Maio welcomed the level of bilateral cooperation in combating irregular migration. The Italian foreign minister also stressed his country's willingness to increase the quota of regular Tunisian migrants in Italy.
We discussed the phenomenon of irregular migration and the flow of migrants. Italy welcomes Tunisia's work in this field. The cooperation will be further developed with Europe as well, to strengthen the anti-irregular migration effort.
Families of missing migrants rallied in Tunis, demanding truth about the fate of their relatives. Protesters believe that the traditional management of irregular migration has proved ineffective.
Where are our children? We know that many migrants who are lost at sea were rescued and are still alive. The failed strategies of our state will only increase irregular migration. We have recorded thousands of cases from 2010 until the end of 2021. We want to know the fate of all missing migrants.
Activists stressed the need to devise new solutions to address the causes of irregular migration. They urged the authorities to promote regular migration, which guarantees the rights of immigrants.
We want our children back. This is our message to the Tunisian and Italian authorities. The successive governments are responsible for irregular migration because they did not create job opportunities or financing for youths to launch their own businesses, while Europe imposes a strict visa system to stop regular migration. The kids had no choice but to risk their lives and reach Italian shores illegally.
Over the last decade, Tunisian authorities prevented over 42,000 migrants from reaching the Italian coasts. More than 19,600 migrants were intercepted in 2021, accounting for 46% of the overall number of migrants intercepted in 10 years.
The Tunisian Forum for Economic and Social Rights criticized what it called the country's total submission to the strong Italian and European pressure concerning the control of its coasts. The forum says Tunisia limits the migrants' right to mobility in their own country as they are prevented from moving to coastal areas. Abdel Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
Binti, Swahili for Young Women, has made history by being the first Tanzanian film to get on global streaming platform Netflix. Produced by local company Black Unicorn Studios, its widely anticipated release on the platform on the 7th of this month is expected to revolutionize the country's film industry. CGTN's Isaac Lucando has that story.
Tanzania is not known for making movies, but Binti, a story about perseverance told through the lives of 4 women getting on streaming platform Netflix, might change that.
They believed in the story, that it was a universal story that would be able to resonate with people from all across the globe.
The film's producers, sisters Angela and Alinda Ruhinda, say local filmmakers have many good ideas, but realizing them has been challenging.
Telling stories takes money, and there are not a lot of opportunities to get the funding for a good quality film. Yeah.
More than 100 crew members and actors worked on the film. Many of them see bigger doors opening after getting on Netflix.
Now Godliver is in this platform, so she has been upgraded. You need to pay her accordingly. You need to value her.
The movie has also caught the attention of many film lovers in the country.
This is my first time watching a Swahili movie that is Binti, and it's impressive, amazing.
I think it will be amazing, and personally I cannot wait.
The film's producers say because of Netflix's high standards, it took them a year to negotiate access to the platform's 214 million subscribers. Now that they're on it, the producers say more movies from Tanzania are in the pipeline.
By getting a film on Netflix, Tanzania follows in the footsteps of countries like Nigeria, South Africa and Kenya, which have movies and series on the streaming platform. The country's filmmakers now hope to carve out a name for themselves in the world of filmmaking. Isaac Lucando, CGTN, Dar es Salaam.
Sport news is coming up after the break, including
Kampala, Uganda's cup.
We meet South Africa's Kirsten Thompson, who juggles her career as a Proteas cricketer and a doctor. Kirsten, not Kirsten.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Well, juggling 2 different careers is no easy feat. However, for South African cricketer Kirsten Thompson, keeping bowls in the air is what she does best.